Hey everyone, it's Denise Brown. I have an organization called the Caregiving Years Training Academy, and I also host an online community called caringourway.com. You are welcome to join us at our online community, caringourway.com. We provide support for you as you care for a family member, and then after you adjust to their death. So we have support for you during and after your personal caregiving experience. Once a month, we gather for a soul break. We have a different theme that we're taking a break from every month. And today we're taking a break from narcissism. And I was inspired by a couple interactions recently that felt like, oh my gosh, I have entered the land of narcissism, and thought, oh, I think we could all use a break from individuals, from relationships, and from systems, including organizations that feel narcissistic. For today's definition, this is what we're using. For narcissism, we're thinking about it as an individual or a group or a system or an organization that functions only in service to themselves. And because they function in service to themselves, you might feel used or unseen or overlooked or transactional. So an organization that could feel narcissistic, for instance, could be a hospital on discharge day. They just want your caree discharged. It doesn't matter the impact on you, your caree, they just want the discharge to happen, because if they don't, chances are the payer isn't going to pay future days. So discharge day is typically like the last day a payer is going to pay for your caree's hospitalization. And so they want the discharge to happen. It's not about what's good for you, what's safe for your caree. It's about whether or not they're going to get paid for an additional day or days. Within a relationship, you might feel of service to another. I cared for my dad for many years. He died in July of 2023, and I would consider to him to be a narcissist, and he really viewed his children as functioning in service of him. What we did reflected on him. So when we did well, we were golden. When we struggled, it was a nuisance. And growing up, we really were the ones who served him. Literally, we were of service to him. I loved my dad, I should also add, and I understood him. That does not mean it was easy. And it's why we need a break from narcissism. You might experience it in the workplace where you work with coworkers, with a manager, with a process you have to abide by. And then within your caregiving experience, and then within your community, and within your family system. So narcissism happens throughout our day, I think. And it could be at different levels. It might be a little bit, and then it might be a lot. And it's why it's important that we take a break from it, because we feel depleted when we are interacting with individuals and systems that are narcissistic. They suck the life out of us. Okay, so to take a break from narcissism, we're going to be of service to ourselves. And as I do every month during a soul break, I'm going to ask you a series of questions today. And they really are focused on what works for you. And I hope the questions that I ask inspire you to really think through, wow, what is it that works for me? How can I be of service to myself? Because oftentimes our choice is removed in those narcissistic interactions. And during this break, we want to embrace a choice. And I hope those questions that I'm going to ask you help you feel like you have a choice. So let's start. So I loved this image because of the transparency of time And because of the different, I guess, flavors of colors, right? There's some green, there's some red, yellow, and they all come in different shades. I think what this does is make us think about time in multi-dimensions. It's not just the clock on the wall, but it's a resource that's available for us. It's time in our day, time in our week, time in our life. We can look at it as multi-dimensional in any ways that work for us. So here's my question to you. Who gets your time? Now, I realize that there are some situations and relationships in which it does not feel like you have a choice. There's a requirement there. When there isn't a requirement, when you have 5 minutes, who gets that time? When you have 4 hours, who gets that time? When you have an hour at the beginning of your day, who gets that time? And you can be as open to this as you'd like. And you could create pockets of time that you give to others or something or a activity. And you can really be as flexible about this as you want. And I want you to be non-judgmental, because you might give Netflix your time at 9 p.m. at night. And that's a good choice for you. We often, I think, judge ourselves if we feel like, oh, I shouldn't be watching TV, I shouldn't be sitting, blah, 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 right? I want you to think of your caregiving experience as a workout. There are different ways that you work out, and one of them is through your caregiving experience. And it's important to rest. So how can you give your time to rest? And it might be that Netflix is at 9 p.m. is how you give yourself time to rest. So see how these categories of where you give your time and to whom and to what can be as fluid and flexible and open as you'd like. If you get up early and are the first one up in your home, how do you give yourself the 10 minutes? So maybe it's your journal that gets your time, or a walk with the dog. Who gets your time? It's also a good question to ask when you feel sucked into drama that is a waste of your time. You can think, huh, I don't think I want to give my time to this, and simply move away. Simply stop participating. Simply go back to something that is a good use of your time. Narcissists will try to suck you into their drama. Then you are of service to them when you are in their drama. You are giving them attention. You are giving them a supply of attention. That's what narcissists like. They like a supply. And it could be, for instance, that they are sucking you into the drama where they want you to recognize they are the victim. When you think, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? And when you give your attention to that story that they tell about they are the victim, then you are giving them your time. And maybe you decide, I don't want to give time to that anymore. And that's okay. You can simply remove yourself from the conversation. You don't have to give a long explanation. You can just say, it was helpful to hear your perspective. I'm going to go back to my work, this responsibility, my day, and that's it. So the question of who gets our time can be helpful too when we think about it. Who doesn't get your time? What doesn't get your time? And it could be that you think, you know what, I worry a lot. And for 15 minutes every day, I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to give my time to worries all the time. I'm going to give myself a break. Okay. So I like this next image. I wasn't quite sure what the wood planks created, and it actually is a table. And I think about sitting at this table and looking at that vista, that view. And it could be the sun coming up, the sun going down. So my question to you, inspired by this image, is who gets your resources? Your listening ear is a resource. Your problem-solving skills are a resource. Your attention is a resource. What you create in terms of maybe food, that's a resource. And I don't mean to say that you're withholding nourishment from people in your life who you want to nourish, but maybe there's someone who is sucking nourishment from you that you think, why am I giving that to them? They are a taker. Last month in our soul break, we took a break from takers. And so this kind of fits in a little bit too. So you can always watch that one. We archive all our soul breaks. Who gets your resources? And again, you can define resources in any way that works for you. Who gets your resources? The reason I picked this image is because I think of it as who gets to sit at your table? And I don't mean this in a cliquey kind of way, right? But it's who deserves your company? Whose company do you enjoy? That's a resource. So who gets your resources? Who sits at the table with you? I appreciate that there are times when we have people sit at the table with us and it's beyond our control, right? So again, it's thinking about when I have time, who sits at the table with me? Who do I share my resources with? When I can control the situation, what's my choice? I love images of flowers. I'm not a gardener, but I appreciate the gardeners in the world because they give us gifts. And I also appreciate the photographer of this image because she gives us gifts. And I do include links to where I got those images in our show notes. I use Pixabay.com. So the question related to this image is, who gets your gifts? And I picked this image because I think of this basket of flowers as being a gift. And you get to pick it up and give it to who deserves to receive it. That's the choice. Who gets your gifts? Your gifts are what you can create, what you know, what you can do, how well you listen, right? You're a great listener. How well you comfort, how well you love. Your love is a gift. Your friendship is a gift. Who gets those gifts? And it's really thinking about how are you investing your gifts? I also think about friendships we have that may become something like maybe the weeds in our garden. We didn't realize it until we think, oh my gosh, again, this person just sucks the life out of me. It can feel like that's a weed in your garden. And it's okay to pull the weed, to just say, ah, okay. That's a relationship I'm going to pivot from. I'm going to use my gift as a friend in a different way. You can also think about it as perhaps you just want to temporarily take a break from that friendship because you think, I'm not quite sure, but I just need a little bit of a break. And that's okay too. Again, it's about choice, bringing back choice. And the choice can be a permanent, a temporary, a one time, a couple times. It's your choice. So who gets your gifts? When you pick up this basket, which is your gift, who do you give it to? We include perspectives about our belief statements in each of our soul breaks, because it's important that we really think through what do we believe, which becomes what do we value. And really today, in taking a break from narcissism, we have embraced choice. So what's a belief statement you can create about choice? I believe I am intentional about choices I make about my time, resources, and gifts. That's a beautiful belief statement. Again, I believe I can be intentional about the choices I make about who gets my time, who gets my resources, and who gets my gifts. I believe I can make empowering choices. Empowering. I believe I can make empowering choices throughout my day. I believe I can make choices that are right for me. I believe I have choices. I find these statements helpful to remember in times of stress. What's a belief statement about choice that can help you when you feel without a choice? And that statement could be something like, I can choose in this moment what I say, what I don't say, what I do, what I don't do. We use these caregiving wheels in our work with family caregivers. It's just to help us think through possibilities. There are 8 categories on this wheel, and it's thinking through what are the choices you have about your work, how you take time for play, your downtime. What choices do you have within your family system about holidays, about how you celebrate holidays, about the dreams you hold for yourself and for your future? What choice do you have as it relates to your courage and your courageous moments? What choices do you have about your health and your well-being? And then how can you choose your values and then implement those values in your day? Again, this is a tool to help you create belief statements about choice as it relates to categories. These are 8 suggested categories. You might have many more. And that's the goal of this wheel, is to inspire you. Okay. So here's the last image. Again, it's related to this idea that we are gifts and we want to protect our gifts. And I think about this question as it relates to this image. Who gets us? And it's thinking about what's the community that gets you? Where do you feel like you belong? How can you spend time with that community? And then it's this idea about who gets our time, our resources, and our gifts. So who gets us in terms of where do you feel you belong? And that's where you want to go, right? That's where you want to spend time. That's where you want to invest resources. That's where you want to share your gifts. And then the other place around this gift of, who gets us is really thinking about who do you give to? I think it's helpful to really think through who gets us, because then that drives where we spend our time. It can help us understand, what, that friendship hasn't been clicking because we just don't get each other. We did 20 years ago, but life has changed for both of us. We just don't get each other anymore. And that's okay. That's okay. And again, it could just be a little bit of a temporary break, or it can feel like, you know what? I am so grateful I had this friendship for the amount of time I did, and it's okay to let it go. When we let go, we create more space to let in. And it's about letting in others who get us. So who gets you? Who gets you? Okay, that's our soul break. Here's my contact information and just another invitation for you to join us at caringourway.com. We have virtual meetings and workshops on a regular basis. We have podcasts. We have chats. We have a community that's really set up to support you during and after your personal caregiving experience. And we'd love to connect with you there. Thanks for all you do. Take care.